Hello guys, today I'm gonna show you how I created this little movie in Blender using my just released Trex and some assets from Kitbash Cargo. I will share with you my workflow for the camera framing, scene setup, lighting, animation and the composition in DaVinci Resolve. And believe me, even if you're new to Blender, you can easily create a short animation like this if you have the correct tools. First, let's start with the beast. I just published my Trex on the Blender market, and if you're interested, you can use this coupon code to get 25% off. The link will be in the description. In Blender, let's delete the default cube, and to import the Trex, you go in File, Append, you search for the Trex file, you select the blend file, you click Append, you wait a few seconds, then you select Collection, and you select everything starting with Trex, and Append. This way, you will have the Trex in your scene. Here, we are going to disable those collections, so this one, we don't need, and this one as well. If you don't have those checkbox, you just have to click here and you can activate those checkbox here. As you can see, the size of the Trex is already pretty accurate, but if you want to scale it for a different size, all you have to do is to click on the armature, like this, and you press S to scale and you select its size. And to be sure that this beast could be rendered on every machine, we have created a multi-res system. So here, in the Trex mesh, you click on Trex base mesh and you go on modifier properties, and here you will have the multi-res options. So actually in the viewport it's 1, but I highly recommend that you put it to 0 because we don't need details in the viewport. We want to have a smooth experience, and you keep 5 for the render, or if you want you can go until 6, which is the maximum, but 5 is what I use for my renders. And if it's too slow for you, you can lower the definition here in this render settings. And just to show you the difference, if I put 6 in the viewport, you will see all the details of the Trex. Okay, let's go back to 0. We will animate the Trex later, but just to show you the different controls, you click on the armature and you go in pose mode here. If you want to reset its position to the initial position, you can press A, that will select all the controls, right click and clear user transforms. For the rig, you can do just about everything you want. We have created lots of controls, so you can freely express your animator skills. And for the tail, you also have this little switch. If you don't want to use those yellow control, you can deactivate them, but I think it's easier to use them. So you just click on this little switch, you press G and you move up. This way you will deactivate the red ones, but you will use the yellow ones. And if you want to use the red ones, you can activate it again, press it down, and now you can play with the red ones. But usually, as I said, I prefer to use the yellow controls. So yeah, I just put it activated by pushing it up. To move the feet of your dinosaur, you can use those yellow circles. And to move the dinosaur in space, you can use those arrows here. And all those little balls are what I call the breathing controls, because you can use them to simulate the breathing animation of the Trex. And as you can see, there are a lot of them. They give a lot of realism to the animation because they are deforming the skin of the dinosaur. Those yellow ones are for the knees. There is this main one for the hip of the dinosaur, and you can rotate it as well. We have all those green ones for the neck and spine. You can control the tongue as well. Of course, the jaw. You can rotate the head on all the different axes. Control the nose for the breathing. You can control also some muscle on the face with those controls. This one is for the iris. The red ones are for the eye itself. And for that, I like to use those rotation. And of course, you have the controls for the different eyelids. For the movements of the head and the neck, I mainly use those green controls. But if you want, you can use manual controls for the neck. You just activate this switch. So you click on it and you push it up with G and up. And now, if you move this, you can move the head, but you have to do very subtle movements if you want to do this manual control. That's why I prefer to use the green one. So I just deactivate the switch, so G and down, and use those controls if I want to move the head or rotate it along different axes. Okay, great. That's it for the rig presentation, and we will come back to it later when we will do a little animation. For the first scene, I use assets from a Kitbash Cargo Pro. The link will be in the description. And I wanted to talk to you about this tool because I'm using it for a few months now, and I think it's crazy good. If you don't know Cargo, it's a tool that lets you import assets in your scene, and we are talking about 10,000 models and materials. And not any random models, those are professional assets used in TV shows and movies like Doctor Strange, Last of Us, Star Trek, just to name a few. And you have all the types of environment that you need for your projects. For example, if you want a Game of Thrones-like mood, you can use this one. Or if you prefer a cyberpunk atmosphere, you also have all the choice you need. And just to be clear, I do have an affiliate link if you want to support my channel, but I'm not paid by this team. It's my honest opinion. Those are my go-to assets now for all my different projects. And the good news is they are actually doing a Cyber Month sales where all Cargo subscriptions are 50% off. It means that if you subscribe now, you will keep this price during all your subscription period. So if you're ready to raise your game or you just want to have fun with pro assets, you should really take a look at this opportunity. For my first scene, I wanted to start the animation with the view of a tiny house in the woods. So in Cargo, I went in the kit Americana, here, and I selected this trailer park. You can have a better view if you click on this little icon. And this is exactly what I had in mind for my scene. So you select your software, and 2K was perfectly fine for my case, but you can use 4K if needed. You click import, and boom, you have the asset in Blender. Now I will place my camera, so to do that, I like to grab this corner. Okay, one more time to create a split screen here. And for this one, I will go in camera view, and I will remove all those tools. And for this window, let's select the shader editor, just in case we need it. For the camera settings, I went for 35mm because I wanted a pretty wide view. For the f-stop, I selected 1 for the depth of field and blades to 5. I also raised the clip end to 500 meters just to be sure to capture everything with my camera. For the focus, what I like to do is to create an object myself, so I have a total control on the focus. So Shift A and empty, plane axes. You rename it to focus, and then you place it wherever you want, and you can also animate it if needed. So I placed my focus around here, and I updated my camera to focus on this object. For the initial framing, I chose this one. I wanted to have a low view of the house. Here are my camera values. I kept this position for 30 frames. Then I started to raise my camera until frame 160. Here you can see the updated values, it's mainly the Z position. And I did a slow rotation at the end to focus the upcoming trees. First I ended at frame 220, but it was a bit too fast for my taste, so finally I pushed the keyframes to 243 frames. So it will take more frames to do this rotation. And I also wanted to have my camera in movement at the end of this shot. Okay, we will finish the camera tweaking later. The ground is visible in the beginning of the shots, so I decided to add some grass on the floor. And to do that, I used the Botanic add-on, so let me show you. Here, you select the floor, you click on the Botanic add-on, you click on this little icon, you select the grass you want to scatter, and you just press OK. And here is the result. We have the grass everywhere. From the Botanic add-on, I also added the trees, and I selected 4 different trees, and I just placed them around the scene to have the decoration that I wanted. And I also imported some scrubs for the foreground elements to give some interest to the scene. Now we can start to add the lights. First, I use a HDRI, and for all my projects, I always use HDRIs from the SceneSky's HDRI pack. So this way, I'm sure of their quality and I know they are memory efficient. I selected this one because I wanted to have the clouds in the sky and a little bit of light, but you don't have to use the same. You can also use free HDRIs from Polyheaven, for example. I will put the link in the description. So far, with the HDRI applied, our scene looks like that. It's really realistic with the sky, but we can't see much. So I added first a point light in front of the house, just here, so we can have a better view of the building. For this first light, we have a power of 50 watt. It's a point light, as I said, and we have a slight yellow color. Then I added the second one, and this one was more powerful. So it was behind the house, somewhere around here, and it was 700 watts, and same with this yellowish color. And I added this light because I feel that there was a hole here and I wanted the light to shine on the trees. Then I added the light behind the house, so this one, okay, to light on the trees. And I wanted to give some life to the house, so I also added a light inside the house. And this is the configuration of this light, 100 watt. And it's simply inside the house, so we have the light coming from the windows here. So those are the 4-point lights. And then I added some area lights for the moon, and we can see those here. So we have those 3 main area lights. I think this one is not necessary. Yep. And for the configuration of those lights, we have 5,000 watts and a slightly blue color. And I placed them in a way that we can see all the different trees, because I know that when I will change my view, I will need those lights where they are actually. And I wanted some consistency between those 2 shots. And here you can clearly see how important it was to have the grass on the ground, because if I take it off, you can see that it's not the same feeling at all. So yeah, it was very important to put that grass around to give some details on the ground. And same for those foreground elements. So it's giving some depth to the shot. And then, as I told you, I was not happy with this little hole. So I added another building here. So I went in cargo. And yeah, I selected this one, the camper trailer. Let me show you. Okay, I know that we won't really see it now, but we will see it at the end. So I imported this one, and it was like this here. So you can see that there is some life going on around here. This is the final light configuration for this shot. I know that it can seem a little bit bright, but with the fog and with the color grading, it will look just fine. And talking of the fog, let me show you my configuration for the fog. So here I will display the fog, and this is just a box I have created. As usual, you select the display as a wire in the object properties, and you place the cube wherever you want the fog to be. And this is the shading for this cube. You add a volume scatter, and I selected the density of 0.03 for the fog. Now for the trees animation, it's very easy to do with the Botanic add-on. You just select a tree and you click on add animation. And for the trees, the normal trees, I just selected a breeze animation with the strength of 0.25. So we have this slight animation. It's not that much. It's just the wing coming through the trees, and it adds some realism to the scene. And for this tree, which is hit by the Trex, I added an animation as well. But for this one, I selected storm with the value of 1, but I didn't want it to be animated right away, so I did add the animation, and then I went to the non-linear animation, and I just moved the tree animation until what I want. So I started the animation at frame 180. So starting from now, here you can see the tree is moving. And it's moving more than the others because I selected storm, and it was enough for me to simulate the fact that the T-Rex is hitting the tree. So here, those are the elements you can move. So for example, if I put it here, now you will see the tree is already moving. So I just selected the timing, and it was around here. And this is how I did to animate the trees just using the default animation option of the Botanic add-on. Now let's finalize the camera animation, and we can see that the transition between the different keyframes of the camera are not very smooth. It's very robotic. I mean, we are going from this position to this position to this position. There are no blending between all those different camera movements, and we can fix that. So here, let's go in Graph Editor, and you select all the key points, and you go in Key and Density and Sample Keyframes. So that will create keyframes for us between the main keyframes in yellow. And what we can do is smooth and smooth legacy, right? I have affected a shortcut for that. It's Alt and O. And to assign a shortcut, you go in Key, Smooth, Smooth Legacy, right click, assign shortcut, and Alt and O, for example, if you want to put it on Alt and O. And you can, if you don't want to use the shortcut, you can just repeat the process, smooth legacy again and again and again. And now if we check the animation, we will see that there are a smooth transition between the different position and movements of the camera. And to add a more organic feel to everything, I will use the Camera Shakify add-on. I will put the link in the description. It's a free add-on created by Jan Huber for the community, and it gives you a lot of different options to add realism to your camera movements. So you click on your camera and you will have the Camera Shakify add-on. You click on the little plus icon and I will add a wading movements. So here you have this little shaking organic feel to the camera. And yes, that's it for the camera tweaking. Alright, so for the render settings, I went for 2048 samples. And of course, you have to activate the motion blur here. For the resolution, I went for a cinematic ratio, so 1920 on 817, and this way you will spare some render time. As usual, the frame rate is 24 FPS, and here are my settings for the file output. And let me show you the render time for one frame. So as you can see, it takes around 50 seconds to render this scene with my computer. And I have a 4090 with 64 GB of RAM. And one thing I forgot to mention is about the focus animation. So let me show you that just now. If I click on the focus, you can see that there are keyframes. In fact, the focus stays in place at until frame 160. And then, because I want the focus to be on this tree, I move it. So I just animated its position until frame 180 on the tree. So you can see the tree moving in the final scene. Okay, that's pretty much it for the setup of this scene. Now let's go in scene number 2. Because we were smart with the shot number 1, we don't have much to do in terms of scene setup for the second shot. Just save as and you change the name to scene number 2 and here we go. The main difference is that we are going to add the walking T-Rex in this scene. And let's be smart with this as well. So here is my advice. Let's create a new file. Let's append the T-Rex again. Let's save this file and let's call it T-Rex animes, for example. T-Rex animes. Let me reset its position. So I click on the armature and go in pose mode. I select all the bones, right click, clear user transforms. And I will open 2 new windows. So here I drag and drop like we did before. And in this window, we go on the dope sheet. And here you select action editor. And in this window, we select the nonlinear animation, right? So I press N. In the action editor, let's create a new action. So you click on new and let's name it T-Rex walking. In keying, you select active keying set, location, rotation, and scale. You can activate the auto keying here. And from there, you create your walking animation. And to do so, here are 2 great tutorials to follow. This is what I use to create mine. The links are in the description. And by the way, my walking animation is not really good. I need to work on it a bit more. But if you already have my T-Rex and you want to use my animations, just drop a comment. I will send you my files. You could also send me an email or DM me on Discord. Let me just create a quick animation just to show you how we can reuse this. Okay, so far we have this animation, very ugly, but this is just for the example. Okay, let's say you have done your walk animation. And what you need to do, okay, here, so this is T-Rex walking. And what you're going to do, you're going to press stash here. That will store the animation in the nonlinear animation editor. You could create as many animations as you want. So let's say we have one, okay, T-Rex walking. And now we have this T-Rex animes with S. Let's save it. And now I will show you how to use it in a different project. So here you click on new, general. Now let's split the windows like we did. So here and here. Here is on the dope sheet and here is on the nonlinear animation. So this is a brand new project, right, with the T-Rex. So no animation. And all you have to do is you go here, append. You select the file with the animations. It was this one. You go in action And here, you will see all the different actions you have created in this file. So I can append this one, append. So now, if I go in the action editor, here, you can see that you do have the Trex working. And if you're happy, you can now push it down or stash. Okay, I will stash it. And you can activate it. And now you can have your dinosaur. You can have the animation here. And what's great with the nonlinear animation editor is that here, when you select an action, this one, you have different options. I will not go through all of them, but here, if this is a walk, you can use the repeat action. So let's say you want to repeat it 5 times, and now it will repeat the same animation 5 times. And if you want it to be slower, for example, you can play with the playback scale, and I will go for 1.4. And now, if you check the animation, it's much slower. And this is a great way to alter, to modify your animation without modifying it. The repeat, the playback scale, the synchronization, the blending, etc. And if you need to edit your animation because you're not happy with the fit or whatever, you just right-click here and start editing a stashed action. So you can edit the action, and then when it's over, you go back here and you click on stop editing the action. And that's it. So now let's go back in my scene number 2. And this is exactly how I did for this working animation. And because it's hidden by the trees, it doesn't have to be perfect. So I did apply my working animation, and I just animated this control, this one, to move the dinosaur. And as you can see, it's not perfect at all, but it's okay because once again, it's hidden behind the trees and the building. And for the trees movements, I did the same as in scene number 1. And for the camera, the animation is a slight dolly towards the action, and the same camera Shakify movements was applied. So a very simple camera animation for this one. And I didn't touch the lights at all. For the shot number 3, I just placed a bunch of trees around the head of the T-Rex, and I created this simple animation. Once again, if you have my T-Rex, I would be happy to send you my blend files. So let me show you what I did exactly for this simple animation. And to see the different keyframes at once, I will go in the dope sheet and action editor. So here you can see all the bones and all the controls involved in this animation. So I will deactivate everything and we will start with the spine. So this is this control. And here you can see this is just a rotation from up, and then it's going down, and then it's going slightly down in the neutral position. So once again, just look at the yellow keyframes. So the first keyframe is here. So we have the spine in this position. So then it's going on this position, this keyframe, and then here, and at the end, slightly here. So what I like to do with the big movements, okay, so for the big bones like this one, the spine, it's better when there are continuous movements on the bones. So here, like this one. Okay, that's it for the spine. And then I added a neck rotation. Okay, neck number 5 here. It's only 4 keyframes. So it's just the neck here, turning here, and then turning back. And then we have the hip animation. And here, it's all about, if you look at here on this side of the screen, let me just move that. If you look at on this side, it's going up, down, up, down. It's just to simulate like a breathing, right? And for the eyes, we have those two. Okay, this is for the eyelid, and this is very easy. For the eyelid, it's just open, close, open. So open, close, open. And it's very easy to do. If you want to have a blink here, just copy and paste, and now you have a blink. And for the jaw, it's a very simple animation. Yeah, it's opening here, so it's close at frame 18, it's opening at frame 33, then it's slightly closing 63 and closing a little bit more and more again. As I told you, for those big bones, I like to have a continuous movement, so it's never still. That's it for the jaw. And for the jiggle are the little balls for the breathing. So here, up, down, very easy keyframes, okay? Nothing special to do. And same for all the jiggles, up, down. For the ribs, is the same. It's not up, down, but it's side. It's on the side here. Let me activate the ribs. So this one here, you can see up here. We can have a better view if we check that like this. So just boom, 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 like a breathing, you know, and it's deforming the mesh. So it's very good for the realism. For the eye, I think there is just a slight movement for the eye. If you check the eye here, there are only 2 keyframes. So it's just like, yeah, a slight movement. I'm not even sure if we can see it in the final animation. And for the shoulders, same as for the rib, it is for the realism of the scene. When you see the deformation, it's always good. So here, I just erase the shoulder. Let me go to see the keyframe. So it's down, up, up, and down. So nothing special. Okay, just down, up, down, up. There is nothing special to do. And here, all those breathing, okay, the breathing animation, let me show you. Okay, it's this one. Okay, those 2. And this one is for the breathing number 2. This is for the nose. So if we check that, let me activate it. And here, oh wait, this is not this one. So this one first, breathing number 1. This is the nose. Wait, where is... No, I did not activate it. Let me activate it. Yeah. Now it should work. Yes. Here, the nose, you can see. Boom. And the other ones, 1, 2, are the same here, but for different muscles. So it's just about opening and closing. So let me show you this one. And this one, let me activate breathing number 1, breathing number 3. Here, this is this area, which is animated. You can see that here. Let me show you. Have a better view like this. And breathing number 2 is the same, but in the different part here on this area. And I did also animate this one. What is this one again? Okay, this is the spine. And this one, what is doing? I don't remember. There is, yes, okay. A slight rotation here at the end at frame 107 to 163. So yeah. So if you put all those animations together, you have this result. So always in movement, the spine, the hip, the neck, the eyes. And once again, don't hesitate to contact me if you want those files, if you have my Trex. And for the lights of this shot, I have several area lights. I think this one is doing nothing. Let me check. Yep. Okay, so we have one area lights for this part. Okay, and it's 1000 watts, and we have one area lights here for this part, 1000 watt as well. And then we have these lights, 2000 watts, which is lighting the side of the dinosaur and the trees, okay, around. And I was missing some lights for this part of the head, so I added 2 lights here, 2 spotlights, 300 watts. So this one for the eye, and another one, I think, which is there, like this, when he is turning his head. I wanted to have lights on this side of his face. Okay, so that's it for the light setup for this scene. For the final shot, I did create a little town using Cargo Pro assets. And once again, I did use the kit Americana to do so, because I already used these buildings. So for the general harmony of the project, I decided to use the buildings from the same kit. And I mainly selected the buildings with the lights, as you can see here. This way it was pretty easy to do, and I think pretty good looking with a minimum effort. And once again, I tried to focus on buildings with the lights to give some life to the city. Okay, that's it for the Blender part. And now in DaVinci Resolve, I did apply some grading. And as usual, my grading is pretty simple. I'm mainly using Film Convert to do the grading. And here are my settings for this. So this is with the grading, and this is without the grading. So I added a bluish tone to all the different shots. Okay, I think the bluish tone is really selling the night effect, and it's adding well to the fog that we export from Blender. And I think the lights that we created in shot number 3 is really working here on this shot, because we have this difference of light on the face, where we want to have the light in the eye of the T-Rex. And finally, I added a bunch of sounds and music to finalize the project. And for the sounds, I use some from YouTube and also from Envato Elements. Well, that's it for this project. Thank you very much, guys. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comment section. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.